Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive.
Hello.
Today, we're plunging into a world of chrome and neon, disks and light cycles. We're unpacking the recently released game, Tron Catalyst.
Yeah, and we've gathered a pretty fascinating stack of sources for this one. We're looking at Metacritic, Steam reviews, deep analyses from Eurogamer, IGN, The Gamer, even Reddit discussions.
That's quite the collection.
Definitely. And our mission here really is to pull out the key nuggets about what Tron Catalyst delivers, maybe where it stumbles a bit, and, ultimately, is it a ride worth taking in that iconic digital universe?
Okay, let's get into it then.
Yeah.
What immediately stands out? What kind of experience were you looking at? Just high level, does it capture that quintessential Tron feel?
Well, what's immediately clear from basically all the sources is how Tron Catalyst really embraces the whole Tron mythos. It even tries to expand it.
Okay.
Critics on Metacritic called it, let me see, a visually stylish game that respects the essence of the franchise.
That sounds promising.
Yeah, and a Reddit review specifically said it perfectly captures the essence of the Tron audiovisual experience. IGN also mentioned its unmistakable chrome and neon look, so it really seems to nail that authentic atmosphere.
Right. So it looks and feels like Tron. That's huge for fans, a big starting point.
Absolutely.
But does it really expand on the lore? Or is it more, just nostalgia? How deep does it go in adding to the universe?
Oh, it definitely seems to expand. The game's set in Disney's Tron universe, specifically in a new area called the Arc Grid.
The Arc Grid. Wasn't that in Tron?
Identity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Buffalo Games introduced it there. And Catalyst is this all-new, story-driven, isometric action adventure.
Yeah.
You play as Exo, a courier program with this unique power called the Glitch.
The Glitch, okay.
And the Arc Grid itself, get this, it was apparently created by Kevin Flynn.
No way, Jeff Bridges' character.
The very same.
Yeah.
And now it's basically the stage for this conflict between the authoritarian core and the free-thinking automata.
Interesting setup. Yeah, Eurogamer pointed out it charts a much different path, and it's set well after Tron Legacy. It's an original Tron storyline with what they called an intriguing premise.
That sounds pretty ambitious narratively. So it's not just treading old ground, it's trying to push things forward.
Right.
I think I saw some mention that it even gets into, allegories.
It does, yeah. Eurogamer described it as collapsing in a thin allegory of climate change, which is interesting for a digital world.
Yeah.
And it also highlights this new conflict between ISOs, they still believe in human users, and the automata, who completely reject that idea, deny users entirely.
Wow, okay.
So for you listening, whether you're a huge Tron fan or totally new, Catalyst seems to really aim to immerse you in that atmosphere and give you new perspectives within that familiar, iconic universe.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Gameplay, core gameplay. Combat is often make or break for these action-adventure games.
Yeah.
What are the sources saying about fighting programs in Tron? Catalyst.
So the combat gets described as dynamic. You've got melee, ranged attacks with the identity disc. Throw it, use it as a shield, parry, roll. The usual sort of actions.
Sounds standard enough.
But this is where the opinions really start to split. Eurogamer, for instance, called it nice and snappy. IGN praised the kinetic animations, the stylish violence.
Okay, positive notes there. But I'm sensing a but coming. Some reviewers seem to have a very different take.
You got it, yeah, big but. Other critics found it simplistic, repetitive. The Gamer specifically called it clunky with no impact.
Ouch, clunky's not good.
No. And they mentioned enemies often feeling like tanky walls of HP. IGN also pointed out that, on the default difficulty at least, a lot of fights could be finished pretty quickly, almost with token effort, just by spamming dodge and basic attacks.
So just mashing buttons gets you through?
Kind of sound like it, yeah. Or, as the Gamer noted, by unlocking instant kill parries. So it really seems like this mixed bag on combat isn't just, personal taste. It points to maybe a design issue.
How so?
Well, it looks visually kinetic, right? It's stylish. But the underlying combat seems to lack the depth or maybe evolving challenge needed to keep you engaged long term. It might turn into that dodge and spam routine for a lot of players.
That's a really key insight. Yeah. If the combat loop doesn't grow, it can get old fast. What about progression? Building up Exo's abilities, is there much depth there?
There's what Eurogamer called an RPG-light skill tree. Lets you upgrade things like extend your parry window or make the disc ricochet.
Okay.
But again, the criticism pops up. IGN said it's quite basic, not a lot of either choices to make.
Wow.
And apparently you can fill it out completely way before the end if you're looking for all the secrets. So for your action experience, yeah, the combat might be a hurdle for some, and the progression probably won't give you that deep branching customization.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And I saw something about stealth, too. Did they add a stealth system? How did that land?
They did include one, yeah. But reviews like IGN's seem to find it generally dull. Or, you only really used it when the game forced you to.
So more like an obligation than a fun option.
Sounds like it, yeah. Didn't seem to be an engaging mechanic on its own.
That's a shame when a new system doesn't quite click. Okay, but beyond just fighting, Tron. Catalyst has this really unique-sounding mechanic, Exo's glitch power. What's that about? How was that received?
Right, the glitch power. So Exo can basically reset the server to an earlier state, like roll back the clock.
Okay, time loop kind of thing.
Sort of, yeah. But what's clever is you keep the knowledge you've gained, abilities you've earned, and shortcuts you've unlocked, even after you reset. And dying also triggers it, replenishes your health.
That sounds conceptually brilliant.
It was largely praised on concept. IGN called it a very clever idea. Reddit reviews echoed that, calling it an interesting twist on a standard isometric action game and, like, a no-brainer for a Tron mechanic.
I can see that. It feels very Tron. But did reviewers feel it lived up to that promise in practice, or did it fall short somewhere?
And that's exactly where you see the gap, right, between the concept and the actual execution. Despite all that potential, many critics felt it was underutilized.
Oh.
Yeah, mostly wasted, even. IGN sort of lamented the lack of chances for a clever or dynamic way to use it, or for real experimentation. They called it a time loop story without a lot of opportunities to exploit.
So the game holds your hand too much with it.
Seems like it. The gamer criticized that specifically, saying there's zero experimentation. You simply don't interact with the loop mechanic at all until the game tells you to.
Ah, okay.
So the glitch mechanic, while it sounds amazing and fits Tron perfectly, it seems like a great idea that was maybe hampered by being too restrictive in its design.
Instead of letting you be creative with it.
Exactly. It ends up feeling more like a narrative device than like a core gameplay loop you can really play with.
Right, I get that. So it had the smarts, but maybe not the freedom. What about just exploring the world itself, outside those mechanics?
The game has these sandbox maps, like the vertical slice city, the ravaged outlands. The gamer appreciated that they felt unique and had their own obstacles.
That's good.
But some reviews mention shallow exploration with no real incentives, and IGN felt some of the outdoor zones, the ones for the light cycle, were maybe a bit cramped.
Okay, mixed again.
Though Eurogamer did point out some Metroidvania elements, new abilities open new doors, and old encounters are given fresh perspectives.
Ah, okay, so some progression tied to exploration.
A little bit, yeah. So the question for you is, does this cool glitch idea really enhance your sense of discovery? Or does it just leave you wanting more ways to actually, engage creatively with the world?
Yeah, good question. And, okay, we have to talk light cycles. Can't do Tron without them.
Yeah.
How are they integrated in Catalyst?
Right. Light cycles are definitely in there. Used for quick and enjoyable navigation in the larger areas, according to IGN and Eurogamer.
For getting around. Makes sense.
And Eurogamer highlighted the modern version of light cycle combat. It features proper curves, not the old 90-degree turns.
Oh, interesting. Like the newer movie.
Exactly. Which one reviewer thought made sense as a more chaotic form of bike combat?
Modernizing a classic. But any issues with how it actually plays? Especially the combat part.
Unfortunately, yeah. Some criticisms there, too. IGN mentioned those cramped areas for the bike again and said it felt clunky in combat.
Clunky again.
Yeah, seems to be a recurring word. The gamer echoed that and also noted NPCs often got stuck on the scenery during bike sections.
Oh, dear. That breaks the immersion.
Totally. And there's also a light jet you pilot later, but IGN felt that was even more like a minigame, not really a fleshed-out mechanic.
Okay, so light cycles are there, but maybe not perfectly executed. And then, the soundtrack. Tron has such an iconic sound. Daft Punk, Trent Reznor. That's a seriously high bar. How does Catalyst's music measure up?
That's a huge point, yeah. And IGN specifically brought up that high bar, but the consensus from critics seems to be that Catalyst's soundtrack is, well, subdued, understated, an overly safe blend of orchestral and electronic.
Safe isn't usually what you want from Tron music.
Exactly. IGN found it too repetitive and said it doesn't vary enough in intensity between just exploring and actual action sequences. Basically, it often fades into the background.
That's disappointing.
It is. So for those of you really craving that pulsing, driving Tron soundscape, it seems like the atmospheric delivery, especially with the music, might fall short of those really high expectations set by the franchise's legacy.
Right. Okay, so let's bring it all together then. The overall package. Tron Catalyst came out June 17th, 2025. PC, PS5, Xbox Series X, Switch. How did the critics and players actually receive it, like, numerically?
Okay, so on Metacritic, the PC version has a Metascore of 69. That's officially mixed or average.
69, okay.
Yeah, based on 23 critic reviews. And the breakdown is like 30% positive, 65% mixed, only 4% negative. OpenCritic is similar, a 68 average with 40% recommending it.
So critics are lukewarm mostly. What about players? Steam.
Steam user reviews are actually a bit warmer. They're sitting at mostly positive, with 72% of, well, only 40 reviews so far, but 72% are favorable.
Interesting split. Critics mixed, players leaning positive. That happens sometimes.
It does. Often tells you something about who the game resonates with.
And in terms of its size, is this a massive 100-hour epic or something more contained?
Definitely more contained. It gets called things like a bite-sized treat, a modest product. Lots of reviews actually appreciated its restrained scope and length.
Oh, really?
Yeah, IGN noted it took them less than 12 hours even playing meticulously. They felt it respected my time, called it a nice restrained palate cleanser in a world full of massive games.
I can see the appeal of that.
The gamer even compared it to a budget Hades.
Budget Hades.
Okay.
That give a pretty good sense of maybe the ambition versus the scale. And Biffle Games, the developers, they have a certain reputation.
They do, yeah. Eurogamer highlighted their rep for smart, evocative writing with a dash of humor, and definitely for their ambition, even if, as some critics felt, the execution stumbles here and there.
Right.
And it's worth mentioning the accessibility options, too. Adjustable difficulty, even during fights, resizable UI, subtitles. Good stuff to have.
Always good.
Mm.
Okay, so considering all that, what's the final takeaway for you, the listener? Is Tron Catalyst a game that truly shines? Or is it more like IGN said, it competently gets the job done, but is rarely ever great? Who's this really for? Hardcore Tron fans? General action players?
You know, it's fascinating how Tron Catalyst seems to walk this fine line. It clearly absolutely delivers on their iconic Tron look and feel, the lore. It offers an authentic, ambitious story in a new part of the grid.
Right, the positives are strong there.
But then you have this pervasive feeling coming through the sources that its innovative gameplay ideas, like that glitch mechanic and maybe even the core combat, they just never quite hit their full potential. They leave some players wanting a bit more depth in the actual execution.
So what does this all boil down to for you listening? It sounds like it's a game that definitely respects your time. It's short, concise. It provides a visually stunning dive into a really beloved universe, especially if you're a Tron fan, just hungry for new story content.
Exactly.
But if you're chasing truly groundbreaking gameplay or maybe something with really deep, consistently challenging combat, it might leave you wanting a little bit more.
Which does raise a pretty important question, I think. In today's gaming world, where's the balance between having a really compelling, well-realized world and having consistently innovative mechanics? Like, does a game's success hinge more on just immersing you in its atmosphere and story, or does it need to challenge your skills with fresh gameplay loops that really evolve over time?
That's definitely something for you to mull over as you consider your next deep dive.